Hello, and welcome to the BigTime Strength Podcast, featuring small school strength coaches from around the nation that are making the big time where they are at. Before we get to the episode, we'd like to thank our sponsors that make this podcast possible. TeamBuildr is a strength and conditioning software that allows coaches to build training programs, create wellness questionnaires, access and track athlete data, and more. Athletes can log data using phones, tablets, or laptops and can watch exercise videos so they know exactly what to do. Coaches can use the tools within the platform to monitor athlete recovery and readiness. Be sure to sign up now with code BigTime and you will gain access to a 30-day free trial. This episode is also brought to you by Powerlift. Taking your athletic facility from concept to completion can be a challenge. It is Powerlift's goal to make the process as seamless as possible from start to finish. Their weight equipment is made from the toughest materials that can withstand excessive use from coaches and athletes for years to come. It's sought after for its unique design, customizable appearance, affordability, and superior warranty that training facilities deserve. Powerlift helps design weight rooms with the athlete in mind, and they pride themselves on their ability to outfit athletic facilities based on a team's unique goals. That's why high schools, universities, professional sports teams, and athletic performance facilities around the world have chosen Powerlift to help maximize their strength training goals. Call Powerlift today to be contacted with a rep in your area and give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to see for yourself why our clients are Powerlift proud. Finally, this episode is also brought to you by Vitruve. Vitruve is a velocity-based training system designed for colleges and high schools around the world. It is accurate, reliable, and affordable. The software is quick and easy to set up and use with a whole room of athletes simultaneously. Coaches have chosen Vitruve because it simplifies VBT and allows them to seamlessly integrate it on a daily basis. Check out Vitruve now for your school's free demo unit. Now, let's get to this week's episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Big Time Strength Podcast. Today, I'm excited to have Coach Curt Lamb on the show, and Coach Lamb is in the same town as me. This is one of the reasons why I love Mount Vernon, is because we have a small college that is in Mount Vernon. They have a long history. They're very unique in the way that they run their class schedules, which is a unique thing for Coach Lamb to actually navigate probably too, and we can get into that some. But one of the things that's awesome is just having somebody with the amount of experience, the amount of knowledge that Coach Lamb has in our town. So just another resource. Lucky to have his son at our school too. Just an awesome dude and a great leader and hard worker. So Coach Lamb, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm excited to interview you. Could you start out with a little bit of your background and telling people where you've been and basically where you're at now?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you, asking me to do this. Yeah, for the prior to Cornell, and I've been here. This is my second year at Cornell. Prior to Cornell, I was the head strength coach, associate athletic director at Limestone University. It's a D2 liberal arts school down in Gaffney, South Carolina. So I was the first strength coach in that college's history. So I built that program from the ground up, which was, when you're a 30-something-year-old head coach, is kind of fun to do. So I was in charge of, when I left Limestone, I was in charge of 26 sports, 850 athletes. Yeah, so my days were fairly busy. Prior to that, I've been employed by the Anaheim Angels, the Milwaukee Brewers. I worked in some private sector things, but for the majority of my career, I've been in collegiate athletics. And then I was very fortunate to have this opportunity present itself and move my family back to our home state of Iowa.
That's right. For anybody that hasn't been to Iowa, it's not just a flyover state. It's a beautiful place. It's even bringing Coach back to his roots. So I love it. Coach, can you tell us a little bit about the demographics now at Cornell? Kind of maybe the unique schedule that you have to work around, and then also just the numbers of teams and how your schedule works, I guess.
Yeah, no, it is. We are one of two collegiate institutions that run the block program, which means our students go to one class for 18 straight days. So they focus on one specific class, 18 days. They're in class from 9 o'clock till around 3 o'clock. Now they have some breaks in there. I think about an hour and a half break for lunch and things like that. So every 18 days, we kind of have a finals and then kind of a 3-4 day weekend for them to refresh, and then they start a new class. And they'll repeat that for their entire collegiate career. So they'll do that 32 times in their career here at Cornell. So the uniqueness of all that means that I don't have as much time with them as I did at my last institution. So once class hits, excuse me, once class hits, I'm hands off. So we can't mandate them to come down, can't mandate them to do anything during those times. So we'll have teams come in from 6 a.m. to about 8 a.m. And then we'll pick back up around 3:30. And then from 3:30 till probably sometimes 7:30, 8:30 at night, we'll have teams training in the weight room. So that's kind of the unique part of it. The other part is that because we see this and you see the stresses mount on them, the external stressors mount on them. We only train for about 3 straight weeks. So we only go. So originally I used to plan in 4-week blocks, 6-week blocks. Now I plan in 3-week blocks. So basically the 4th week of the block is basically it's an off week for the athletes. They just 100% focus on academics. It's usually kind of when a lot of the projects, final papers, end of the block time hits, and the stress level just elevates. So we basically do all of our stuff in 3 weeks now.
When you went to, just going from Limestone to Cornell, and you go to this very particular schedule, what were some of the hardest things for you to wrap your mind around, or to change, or basically just to rehash the system that you've used so it works in a new place?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest challenge I had is when I arrived, there really hadn't been a strength coach working with all the teams probably for about 3 years, give or take. Probably pre-COVID. So the whole goal was just to get everybody engaged again in strength and conditioning, get them back in the weight room, get them kind of involved with the program, kind of educate them on what we're trying to accomplish. And, so with the uniqueness of the schedule, that was something I had to get used to. I was kind of used to, I'd have teams all day long. I'd be busy all day. We'd have kids in and out of the weight room all day. To now it's pretty, I got a lot of downtime in the middle of my day, which is unique. But I'm also an assistant athletic director here. So I've got some other projects to work on to keep myself busy when I don't have the athletes around. But it was really the biggest thing I had to do is, and the one thing I found is everyone was jumping their schedule around block to block to block. So I just came in and organized everything. That was the biggest thing for me to get here, was just organize it. It was kind of chaotic when I first got here. They were like, "Oh, you're going to change it from block to block to block to block." And I was like, "No, you really don't have to." So basically I've created a consistent schedule for the athletes to follow. So I'm really only changing it maybe about the same times that normally I would, with a preseason changeover for winter sports or, those types of things. So we're able to really hold more of a consistent schedule than I think they were used to using in the past. I've got everybody engaged in the weight room, which wasn't the case when I first got here. We saw some great things in year one. We're seeing some nice things in year two. And it's just growing the program. It took me a good 4 or 5 years at Limestone to get everything in place that I wanted and to really get that thing rolling the way it did. And when I took this job, I told Coach Meeker, our AD, it's going to take me 3 to 4 years to get this thing in place. So just give me time. But once it's in place, we'll start seeing some really good things from these athletes.
And along with that, when you get it in place for 3 or 4 years, that's the first cycle of athletes coming through. So then it just becomes the norm for everyone. The new standard that you've set it becomes the standard that the college, it's just ingrained in. So I love that. And I think it's such a big win to get everyone training, going from teams. Some teams were training, some teams were sporadic, some teams weren't training at all, to just getting everybody training. That's such a big deal. And obviously you were equipped to do that with 26 sports and 850 athletes at your last place. But man, just an awesome opportunity for Cornell to grow in a big way. So on Tuesday, for our listeners to hear this, on Tuesday, a couple days ago, we got to go visit Coach Lamb. He did kind of a tour of facility, or a tour of his facilities, and then a Q&A session. And just being able to talk through all the ins and outs of his program was so fun and so awesome for our kids to hear. And just so impressive that Cornell has such a qualified strength coach on their campus and just pouring into their athletes. So thankful to have them in our community. And one of the things that I noticed on that particular day is he is a systems guy. He knows exactly what he wants in each one of those situations. And Coach, could you start to go in maybe to a little bit of like a regular day? So you talked about from 6 to 8 you're training, and then 3:30 to 8:30. But how do you keep everything organized? What's it look like for you to have systems and know what you want out of your training?
Yeah, no, I mean it's just it was built over time. As a young strength coach when I first got doing this, it was probably pretty sporadic, pretty chaotic. But over the course of now 19 years as a head strength coach, you just kind of have those systems in place. And I still play around with things, still see, hey, what's this work? How does this work? What is that? Still trying to learn some new things. I don't have all the technology pieces that I had at my last school here yet. So hopefully can add some more of those pieces in as we go. But it's just really, it's been trial and error over 19 years of my career. And then having a system in place that one keeps me going, so I know where I want to take the athletes, and it doesn't seem like it's just pulling things out of a hat all the time. I've seen some coaches that do that. It seems like every time you walk in the room, there's something new going on. So trying to get some consistency to what these athletes are doing. And at the same time, like I said on Tuesday, if my freshmen are doing the same things as my seniors, I've kind of failed my seniors. So having a system in place where I can evaluate them, I can assess them, see where do we got to regress or progress. What do we have to do to get the best out of them? And sometimes you have to regress. And I tell the kids sometimes we're going to regress to progress because we have to. There are times where we can just keep on trucking. So all the systems I have in place are just from years of doing this. Some of the things that I did at Limestone, just because of timing, don't work here. So still in that developmental phase of how I'm going to integrate all these things. One thing that right now is, I don't get the same amount of time to do our speed sessions with the athletes. And I think that's where, especially at my last school, we saw a lot of carry over to what we were doing, a lot of injury prevention, just by the way we were teaching deceleration and change of direction. Right now, I don't have the time to do that. So now I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I get this all into the program? Is it, creating systems where they're kind of doing it on their own and then kind of on their own time? Last year I was able to do it at lunchtime. This year, the college took that away from me because of scheduling, because they wanted more academic focus. So I lost kind of my lunchtime speed sessions. So now it's just, trying to integrate all those things in. So I'm still kind of navigating the block schedule and figuring out how it all works and getting the pieces in. But the systems that I have in place of what I want to do with freshmen to sophomores to juniors to seniors, how we want to do our knee prehab, our ankle prehab, our neck, our shoulders, all those are in place from this years and years of what I've used. So it was kind of nice. And I think that's probably what helped me the most is I could just pick everything up and bring it with me. So it was already in place. So when I got here, I was like, all right, here's the lacrosse program, here's the basketball program, here's football, here's this, here's that. And it was just go time. And just integrating some new things that the kids hadn't done before, hadn't seen before. Really just cleaned up a lot of technique stuff in year one. So we didn't get real fancy year one. It was pretty generic, just to kind of clean up technique and get these kids going. We're now in year two. We're kind of having a few more things where we're a little more specific to the individual athletes.
I find like when you start something new, the amount of energy to get it going in the right direction takes so much more. So you've mentioned year one to year two a couple times now.
Mhm.
What do you think some of the biggest changes are that you're seeing within your athletes from year one to year two?
I think from last year to this year was just learning to train, not exercise. Training for a purpose, not just training for aesthetics. And I think really just teaching movements was the biggest thing. The strength was there in a lot of kids. It was their movement patterns were off. So we focused a ton on just movement patterns. And I think that was where the biggest change came from. I think, kids got stronger and those types of things. But at the same time, you got such a varying range of athletes here. I think a lot of the athletes were like, well, if I lift weights heavy, I'm not going to be as good as my sport. And just kind of breaking that mentality with them was the big thing. And then when they saw that, oh, I'm jumping higher, or I'm jumping farther, or I'm running faster, or I cut this way, cut that way, and we haven't really lifted anything heavy, wow, I'm getting better. And I think that was the key. I think the big thing was build a lot of confidence in these kids. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. So now I got to build that whole relationship with them. Now the relationship's kind of there with a lot of the kids. So now it's like the ones from last year kind of help the new ones kind of learn and those types of things. And like you said, when these kids get to my juniors and my seniors and it's that fourth year, then it's just kind of ingrained. It's kind of like, all right, this is what we do at Cornell, type thing. And we're getting there. We're getting there.
And the progress hooks kids. It totally does.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned this a little bit on Tuesday, like you'll still every once in a while, I think everybody gets this, where it's like you get the TikTok culture or the Instagram. Hey, coach, like I saw this exercise, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing you, I think you welcome the conversations to talk through exercise, but also maybe it's a learning time for that student athlete. Tell me how you navigate some of those conversations, because I know there are coaches across the nation that they have to have these same conversations almost every day with their student athletes.
No, I mean I think that's just the culture we're in now, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I usually joke around with it at first. When I tell the kids when I first meet with the teams, I'm like, listen, if your first conversation with me is, coach, I saw this on TikTok, then we're just not holding the conversation. So I start off as kind of a joke. There's sometimes it does that kind of move towards that when they keep coming at me too many times with it. But it's used as learning ideas. Now I'm not saying that everything on TikTok is terrible or there's no benefits from some of that stuff. I just remind these kids, like, one, we don't have some of that stuff available to us. Two, not everything you see is appropriate. And some of it is more for social media following than anything else. Like I always talk about, the guy with his quick feet in the sand and ladder drills and moving, like, great. He doesn't move real fast. He's just moving his feet real fast. He's not actually moving, type thing. Or, all the balance stuff, this, that. I try to tell the kids, listen, a lot of that is for followers only. They're just trying to build social media. It has no real benefit. It's a circus trick at sometimes. Now, there are some things, well, yeah, that's not a bad exercise. And you can pull some stuff from it. But I think it's just learning moments with these kids. They're so it's so ingrained in them. Like, you hate to say it, a lot of kids nowadays, they're more in tune to go to their rooms and watch videos than go outside and jump off things and run and play games. That's just the way we are. Growing up, I was outside all the time running and jumping off of stuff. You have Eric. Eric ran and runs and jumps all the time when he was little. Couldn't keep him off our trampoline back in South Carolina. He was outside all the time. My oldest wasn't that way. So his older brother's not as athletic as he is. That he just never ingrained in that type of stuff. But I think that's just what we are. It's just the culture we're in. It's never going to go away. It's just use them as education, use them as talking points. And that's what I try to do. I just use them as talking points. I don't get too crazy with the kids. They'll bring me stuff all the time. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Yep, let's talk about that. How do you think that would work? So put it on them to answer the question. And there are some good stuff. There are some good things out there, but there's a lot of things. It's like I try to tell the kids, it's more for social media following than anything else.
I feel like the amount that I've grown from social media is unreal. Just because like I had my experience through
Mm-hmm.
college, and then being a graduate assistant and being ingrained in that. Like it was such a big deal. And then the stuff that I've learned on the job, right? But then there's just something about being able to see how other people are doing it and start to decide like, is this good or is this bad? And I think one of the main things that strength coaches can do now is like be a filter for our student athletes in some way to help them say, okay, like you saw this one thing on social media. It looks really cool. But listen, we've been doing this for a while, and I've seen stuff like this, and there might be some merit or some value to it. But listen, just look at this whole picture that we're trying to paint, not just this one little piece. And sometimes it just doesn't fit within the system. Maybe it's
Yeah,
something good and it just doesn't fit within the system of whatever that is, if it's time or
exactly.
space or equipment, like you're saying. Like, so when you've established the relationships like you've had, you do, and you just make sure that they realize like there's a plan and a purpose for all this. It's such a good deal to be able to have kids that are excited about something, even if it is TikTok. It just sometimes it gets in the way, man. It totally gets in the way.
Yeah.
So, tell me about some of the hurdles that you had maybe at any point in your career. Because I know the first couple years at a new place, there's tons of hurdles. So you can just use that. But I mean, you've got a huge program started down in South Carolina. You've got a ton of experiences to draw off of. Any of those that come to mind would be awesome to hear.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I got to South Carolina, it was, hey, you're going to start a strength program. We don't have one. Here's all these kids. They just built this room. I hadn't seen any of the equipment. So it kind of a little bit similar to what I ran into here. The room was built, the equipment was ordered. I just rolled in. Now, down there, they ordered a lot of the wrong stuff. So I was doing a lot of fixing right away when I got there. Up here, really nice stuff, just not everything in place. So I did have to do some ordering when I got here. But the biggest thing is when you go into these situations, is understand you can't have everything day one right away. You can't go into administration and go, I need this, 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 and this. They're going to be like, no, we don't have all that money. You can't have it. So you got to kind of get creative at times. In early years, I was building a ton of stuff. Just, my wife would get so mad at me. We'd have plywood everywhere. I'm building stuff left and right. Drove her nuts. Now I'm out of that phase. I don't have to do that as much anymore, which is nice. I still enjoy it. I just don't have to do it as much. But I mean, some of the hurdles that I ran into was, building a budget, getting them to understand, getting administration to understand what type of budget it takes to run a strength and conditioning department. So it impacts, the number of student athletes that you're trying to impact, have enough equipment to make it functional and to make it time efficient. When I got the limestone, I had one set of dumbbells, just one. And I had, 400 athletes. I was like, I don't have enough dumbbells. I can't do this with one set of dumbbells. So up here, I probably have more dumbbells than I actually need. I definitely have more dumbbell racks than I need. So I've got 3 in storage if anyone's looking to buy a dumbbell rack. It takes time. And a lot of it's education. I found that at Limestone, and a little bit here is just educating them what a strength coach actually does. And how that's going to impact the student athlete in terms of recruitment and retention. So that takes a little bit of time to just educate them on what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. And then you build relationships, down south and up here, no one knows me. They just hired me and I just showed up. I didn't meet with all the coaches when I was hired here. I didn't meet with all the coaches when I was hired at Limestone. And I had to build those relationships over time. So they had to trust me. They had to trust me that I was doing the best for those student athletes, that I was going to do the best for those coaches and those teams, and always have that mindset first. And trying to build and building that here, they understand that he's going to do everything he can for these student athletes here in the situations that he has, take care of them, and make the best choices that we need to make. And all this takes time. There's there's different hurdles at any place you go. The hurdles I'm going to have here are going to be vastly different than the ones I had down there. It is what it is. Down there I was a Division II. We had scholarships. We could hold them accountable to things. Here I'm D3. So you can't make it mandatory in the off season. You can't track the attendance. You can't report if a kid misses. You just kind of have to let it go. The nice thing is I don't have a ton of misses. These kids show up in the off season. They want to come train. They want to get better. At least for the first 2 years, they're showing that. We'll see what year 3 and 4 looks like. But right now they're all coming. I got a women's tennis team who I'm finishing up this week because they start competition next week, and they've been so thankful that I've worked with them. And their coach didn't have them with me last year, but he goes, I want to try it with them. And the girls have been so appreciative of it. And it's, just building those relationships with a team that I didn't have last year. Cheer and dance is, I train everything from cheer and dance all the way to football. So I've got them all, and they're all engaged. They're all doing something. They're all showing up. And, that's just what we're trying to accomplish here. And, the longer I'm here, the more we can get things done, the better it's going to be. Hopefully over years, we'll have some more staffing and some things like that, so we can do some more things. But what people have to understand, it takes time. You got to go in with kind of a 3 to 5 year plan. And, just understand that there's going to be some road bumps along the way, and you're not going to get everything, and you got to adjust, and those things occur. I think older coaches kind of know how to adjust to it a little bit better than younger coaches. I think younger coaches are a little more gun-ho about it, and they're like, I got to have this right now. And they get more frustrated. I'm sure I did when I was a young coach too. But now I kind of know it, and I just don't get as frustrated about it.
The point of not just being frustrated about any hurdle really is such a big deal, because then it's like, okay, how can we go about problem solving for it? Mm-hmm. And earlier you said you've got like this gap in your day, and you call it downtime, which is just hilarious to me, because that's what people call their normal work, right? So from your 8 o'clock to 3:30, you're doing a normal job of being an athletic director, right? And you call it downtime. I think that's just hilarious, because it's just a different world being a strength coach, isn't it? So you're on the floor, you're organizing mass amounts of people, you're trying to get the best out of them. It takes a ton out of you. And I love that perspective of sitting down, but now I've got to do my other full-time job that I've got on campus. So
I've always said this. I said this, when I was at Limestone, and it's true here. As a strength coach, my day does not look like a normal strength coach's day. It never has. I joked around when I sent my resume into this job, and I asked, and they're like, I've been friends with everybody here now, and I kind of asked, they're like, yeah, your resume doesn't actually look like a strength coach's resume. Just because of all the athletic director stuff I've been doing over the years. Now, yeah, there's still a bunch of strength stuff on there. But when I got hired here, I was, I wrote the entire department handbook when I got here, because we had to upgrade that. I've been on different projects here and there. I'm on the campus wellness committee. I'm serving on a NCAA grant selection committee, sitting on the Iowa board for the NSCA, the lacrosse SIG for the NSCA, and doing a ton of administrative work. I have program oversight of our football team, our lacrosse team, and our eSport program. So all those coaches I work with administratively, budget, scheduling, and those types of things. So, my real strength coach time is 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. and 3:30 to 7:30. And then in between there is I'm an administrator the rest of the day. I'm organizing my work study staff. So, they're organized, they're taking care of the laundry, cleaning things up, watching the fitness center. Or I'm helping with some game day management stuff, getting it set up. And, it's just a busy day. But, I'd rather be busy than sit here twiddling my thumbs at my desk going, what am I going to do now? So, but no, I've always said that there's a lot of assistant athletic directors of sports performance, strength, conditioning, whatever. A lot of those titles come with pay rate, like for the money. I think I got the money and I got a lot of the duties along with it, but I enjoy the duties because at some point, there's going to be a point in my career when I don't want to get up at 4:30 in the morning and go down to the weight room and do those types of things. So, a lot of this stuff late in my career, especially the administrative stuff, is kind of to set me up for that. What am I going to do when I realize that, okay, it hurts too much to show a squat, or I don't move as well, or because I take pride in that I can still show all the exercises that we use. When it comes to a point where I can't show one of the exercises, then I'm like, okay, now what do I got to do next? Because, the kids always say I'm one of the most flexible old guys they've ever met. So
Honestly, when you put it like that, it's just like this long-term planning, but you're affecting an athletic programming in another positive way, right? The whole department is getting to be able to improve from the athletic perspective of strength and conditioning, but then also from the administrative side of just like making sure that everything's accounted for, managed for, and planned for. And I honestly think that most strength coaches they learn a lot through the process of being a strength coach, and it carries over super well to like administrative functions, right? In the same way that most head coaches, they get pretty dang good at like the administrative stuff, not just the coaching, right? So I think you've just maximized that time in doing it. That's so good. Just to switch gears back to some strength training, I know like that athletic administration stuff is a huge component of everything that you do at Cornell. It's also a huge reason why you could come back was because of that portion of things too. But just wanted to hear about like training philosophy, how you like to structure things, what that looks like for you, knowing that like you're in your second year, it might change as you go forward, but we want it to be kind of give the listeners an overview of how you like to train your athletes.
Yeah. The biggest thing, and I tell coaches and athletes this all the time, is my job is to make you durable so you're available to play. So we'll do a ton of stuff to get the body ready. These kids sit in class for 8 hours. So the first thing we do is we'll do some soft tissue work just to start waking things up. Get them on the lacrosse balls, the rollers, the peanuts, just kind of move them around. Once we kind of get through there, then we'll get a lot of our prehab work done, whether it's the knees, the hips, the ankles, the shoulders, the head and neck, kind of get those areas taken care of. And that just rotates throughout the week. Once we get through there, then we'll kind of do our plyometrics, deceleration training, med ball training, whether it's depth jumps, single leg jumps over hurdles, box jumps, snap downs and jumps, those types of things. And then once we go there, then we'll kind of go into the weight room section. And, I use kind of a hybrid tier model where it's a total body day, upper body day, or lower body day emphasis. And then typically, I've changed it a little bit over the years, but typically we'll start our week with our upper body day. Dealing with college athletes, I kind of have an idea over the last few years of my career. I've done this for so long. They really don't take real good care of their bodies on the weekend. So to kind of come stress them heavy on the nervous system on day one is usually not the most successful thing I've done. So we'll kind of do a little more upper body day with them on day one. So we'll have a rotation where it's, upper body, lower body, total body, back to upper. And we'll always do something for the hamstrings, the posterior chain, and shoulder girdle within those workouts. Lower body days, we usually typically If we squat, any type of squat variation, we will add some type of anti-flexion, anti-extension core work with that. The majority of our Olympic variations, we will do some type of anti-rotation work with that. And then we'll pair up a lot of things just so we can kind of stay very consistent throughout the day and kind of keep going. At the same time, I've got a timer clock that I used for intervals in our weight room. So we'll work on the minute 15, minute 30, work multiple sets, try to build that, metabolic conditioning effect with them a little bit, get them a little huffing and puffing through the things, because, in athletics, when you're in competition, you don't have a full bout of recovery, so we're in constant motion in the weight room, so I've got about 45, 50 minutes with these kids that I've got to kind of really get them going before the next group's coming in or they've got to get to practice or things like that. So we keep them moving pretty good in the weight room. I do a lot of high set, low rep type things with their athletes because I don't want the neural fatigue. So a lot of our set and rep schemes are 5 and down. It's not very uncommon to see, set numbers of 6 to 10 in the weight room with, low reps, low recovery times. At the same time, like we talked about on Tuesday, a majority of our training kind of falls between 70 and 85% year round. So we don't really come out of that very often. We kind of keep it right in that sweet spot for the year, in season to out of season. So we can just kind of manipulate the things we need to do. We're always going to do something for dynamic effort, something for some type of semi-max to max effort within the workouts. And then a lot of our repetition work comes in some of the auxiliary work that we'll do.
When I listen all the way through that, there's so many things that strength coaches from every area, high school and college, can take and learn from, because who isn't on a time crunch? Like, when it really comes down to it, it's nice there's probably a couple teams that they have less restraints and they prioritize the weight room more, like coming to mind, obviously a lot of times places like football will prioritize the weight room more, so they want more time. But really when it comes down to it, if you've got somewhere between 35, 50 minutes, maybe it's 30 and 50 minutes, and the amount of work that you're getting done, coach, is awesome. And for kids to know what to do next and to know the systems and to get that going and to be efficient with their training, that just provides more opportunity for them to develop over the time that they're at Cornell. That's great stuff. Do you find that kids are enjoying like the whole process? Because like a lot of times you get in there, you put in that type of work, a lot of times you see smiles on their faces by the end of it, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. You got some kids that are really engaged and really enjoy the process, and the other kids that are like, I'm just supposed to be here, and you get that across the board. You see that at Division 1, 2, 3, NIA. You see it everywhere, high school, everywhere. So yeah, you're gonna have some kids that really enjoy the process. And that was one of the neat things in my last weight room is on the bars. I was able to put, that on every bar, love the process will love you back. And that was on every single bar in our weight room. So the kids saw that all the time. And I kind of remind our kids about that here. It's like, it's a process. You got to engage in the process. There's no, instant gratification in strength training. It takes time to get to where you're going to go. And, there's a lot of times where some of my best training sessions come from not even getting under the bar at all. You're just talking to a kid and getting to know them and understand them, because they got to know you care about them before they're going to train hard for you. So there's a lot of times where it's just like, hey, how's it going today? How's that injury coming? Or how was class? Or, just talking with them. You get a ton out of them that way. Or, you see a kid like, Coach, I've never done that weight in my life. And they get so excited about it. Then you're like, great, that's what you want to see. But like I told you, I kind of mentioned this to you on Tuesday. Those are all cool, and you love seeing those types of things. Those kids see those right away. But the biggest thing for me is when they come back years later and tell me the stories like, hey, I learned this from you. I don't understand why you were so hard on me at that point. Well, now I get why you were so hard on me. Or, hey, I used this because of this, what you always said. Now I'm using this in my career. Those types of things are probably what I take the most pride in, because it kind of like, did I leave my legacy? And, that's what you want to do in this career is like, what's my legacy look like?
Yeah.
And so, whether I'm here, whether I'm at another school, I finished my career here or whatever, what did I do to impact these kids here? And did I do it on the positive?
That's just amazing to be able to have that perspective, because when you can connect with the kid, we were just talking about this in the last class that right before we recorded this, is like when you can connect with people, they can give more. And in return, because they're giving more, you can give more. It's like this cyclical deal, right? It's this cycle that, man, you just keep on adding to it, and what positive things can come from that. And that's such an awesome culture to be a part of. If you could start to like think through, I know that you're doing this all the time. Talking to you on Tuesday, I know you're doing it all the time. But like if you have a vision for the next 3 to 5 years, somewhere in that range, what do you want? If people are going to come watch the Cornell Rams train, they're going to see the facility, they're going to talk to you. What are some of the things that you would want them to see or hear about?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, I want people to, when they think strength and conditioning, I want them to think, what's Cornell doing? What are they doing at Cornell? Why is that so different over there? You always hear about Central Strength Program, Iowa Strength Program, Wartburg Strength. You hear about those, and because they've had a lot of success. I want people to go, let's go see what Cornell's doing. There's something going on over there. Let's see what that thing looks like. And I think, with it will happen over time. As these kids develop, these kids are in the program a little bit longer, because it helps with the recruiting aspect more so than anything else. I'm not saying that, what I do is the magic bullet to any of this. But it helps in the recruiting process. So then we can recruit a little bit higher caliber athlete. You can get those different competitions. You start seeing those types of things. So I want to see those types of things happen. I want to see that development where, I'm kind of in almost a similar situation to Limestone to here, where we were kind of towards the bottom and then we started to elevate. And we saw that elevation. And a lot of it came from, and it wasn't that, I was a strength coach or I had this staff and we do all these magical things. It was all the little things we were doing outside the weight room to hold our coaches accountable, our athletes accountable, and to try to elevate the entire department to, starting what we called the President's Cup down there, where we were evaluating academics, quality of season, compliance, athletic support, and community service. We were scoring on all that. And we were tracking all that because that was all part of the Division II model. And when our team started to compete in those things, the whole thing started to advance and elevate to where we were the best team in the conference. We're winning this cup, that cup, these things. And, I want to see Cornell kind of move in that direction too. And there's so many untapped things down here right now, that, I hope to be able to instill in the next few years and get those things in place and to grow a program where now I've got a bunch of kids wanting to learn to be strength coaches and come here to learn. And, I was very fortunate. We just sent my first one off to TCU this past summer. Now he just took a GA position at Tarleton State in Texas. So I want to have those type of growth and send those kids out and kind of build that tree from here. And then like, hey, kids from Cornell are pretty good. Let's go grab them and stick them in all these other places. And that's where I want to get this to. I kind of got it to where it was moving pretty like that down south. Now I want to get that here going the same way.
That's awesome. And you have a vision for it because you've seen it and you know it can happen, you know it can work. And that's a good spot to be in because now it's just saying, okay, how can we get it done with the stipulations or the restrictions that we might have in place, at whatever institution you go to, but specifically right now, Cornell. And it's the stuff that gets me excited because you know where you want it to go and you know where you're at now. And it's not like you're at a bad spot now and you
Yeah.
still want it to grow. It's like that never satisfied type of mentality. And I think that we should be grateful for where we're at. And there's a lot of positivity to gratitude. There's a lot of benefits to gratitude, but man, isn't there something to be said about being able to strive for stuff along the way? So being thankful, but continue to strive. So
Yeah.
love to hear that vision. That's awesome. Coach, we're coming to the end of the show here. The namesake of the podcast is the Big Time Strength Podcast, and it's not just because we're saying, oh, this is big time. It's actually the opposite. It's coming from the humble approach of, man, no matter where we're placed in our life, we need to be able to bring it. We want to bring it so that our kids, our student athletes, can have a big time experience, just like you could at like a Division I program. We're saying you can do it at a high school, you can do it at a small college, you can do it anywhere. What does it look like for you to answer that question of how are you making the big time where you're at?
I tell the kids my whole job is to give them a Division I atmosphere on a D3 budget. I'm going to bring the energy every day. I'm going to bring the positivity every day. I'm going to hold them accountable. I'm going to, they're athletes. I'm going to treat them as such. I'm going to treat them as high level athletes. And I'm going to push them to their limits, and I'm going to pat them on the back. I'm going to put my arm around their shoulder when they need it. And I'm going to give them everything I got every time they come in. And I'm just going to ask the same from them. Because if I walk in the room and I'm down, I'm not bringing the energy, how can I expect them to bring the energy? So I've got to bring that every single day, whether I feel good, like you can hear it in my voice. This is, I don't sound like Barry White all the time. So I have to bring that energy this afternoon, so I got to kind of get going, and here we go. And that's just what you have to do. And, I'm just blessed to do this here. It's blessed to do it 17 years somewhere else. And you got to enjoy what you do. If you're not enjoying it, then you got to find a different career.
Absolutely. Coach, I think there's so much to gain from this interview, so much that I learned. Excited so many times I've said it, but just to have you in our community, to be around Eric, who is, I mean, he exudes a lot of the things that you talked about. That's just the way that he lives his life, and it's cool to see that. And when you can lead out on your campus, you're leading out in your home, and just showing people how to make the big time where they're at. It's such a cool deal. So thanks for hopping on the podcast. I appreciate
You
you.
bet.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bet. I appreciate it.